You are welcome to yet another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. The conviction of R. Kelly has sparked outrage, debate and controversy across the globe. While many who are blinded see his guilty verdict as justice for the alleged victims, others who are critical question whether justice was truly served. In this video we'll examine the lack of tangible evidence from among the stories that were presented in court, dissect the key arguments made by Mr. Kelly's defense, and explore why some believe his conviction should be overturned. Is R. Kelly a victim of a flawed justice system and media bias? Let's dive in. R. Kelly, who is also hailed as the king of R&B, saw his legacy nearly shattered by allegations of sexual misconduct and abuse spanning decades. His conviction in 2021 came after testimonies from multiple accusers who described horrific experiences of manipulation, coercion and alleged assault. The charges were severe, and some, such as the RICO and forced labor charges, simply concocted to corner the R&B king. But the trial's reliance on testimonies without substantial corroborative evidence raises serious concerns about whether the verdict was just. At the core of any criminal trial is the principle that the prosecution must prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. This standard exists to protect individuals from wrongful convictions based on unsubstantiated claims. In R. Kelly's case, the prosecution relied almost entirely on the word of his accusers, with little to no tangible evidence presented to back their claims. We saw no DNA evidence, nothing tangible to look at and believe, and no forensic proof whatsoever. The question is rather simple. Can a conviction based solely on allegations stand up to the rigorous standards of justice in a criminal court? The testimonies of the accusers were undoubtedly emotional and detailed. But emotional testimony does not equate to evidence. The defense highlighted several inconsistencies in the stories told by the accusers, including contradictions in timelines and details about their alleged interactions with R. Kelly. Some accusers admitted to continuing relationships with Kelly long after the alleged abuse was said to have occurred. These inconsistencies should have raised doubts in the minds of jurors, but the prosecution relied heavily on these narratives to secure a conviction. Supporters of R. Kelly argue that relying solely on testimony without corroborating tangible evidence sets a dangerous precedent that could see the U.S. Department of Justice completely derailed from its core objective, which is to conduct fair trials and serve justice to all. But surely, in cases where the stakes are so high, shouldn't the burden of proof include more than just words? Adding to the complexity of the trial is the undeniable impact of media on public perception. The documentary series Surviving R. Kelly aired before the trial, exposing viewers to graphic allegations and effectively framing Kelly as guilty in the court of public opinion. While the documentary gave a voice to alleged victims, it also made it nearly impossible for Kelly to receive an unbiased trial. How could jurors separate what they heard in the courtroom from what they had already seen in the media? It was always going to be a hard one, and it's no wonder that when they were presented with mere stories without any tangible evidence, they were quick to draw a conclusion that R. Kelly was guilty. And this obviously raises yet another critical question: was R. Kelly convicted on the merits of the case, or was he convicted because the narrative surrounding him was already set in stone? Another controversial element of the trial was the prosecution's use of prior bad acts to paint a picture of Kelly's character. In fact, case critics argue that this tactic unfairly prejudiced the jury against the R&B king. And instead of focusing solely on the charges at hand, the prosecution introduced past accusations to establish a pattern of behavior. This approach risks convicting someone not for what they did in a specific instance but for who they are perceived to be, and this is a perfect precursor for a wrongful conviction. Legal experts agree that reliable evidence is the backbone of any fair trial. However, in the absence of physical evidence, cases rely heavily on witness credibility, which in the case against R. Kelly was also greatly lacking. Remember, we have time and again mentioned how some of these witnesses were caught lying and others saying one thing today and another tomorrow. This lack of consistency in claims is the perfect prequalification for a lack of credibility as a witness. The defense also argued that some accusers were motivated by financial gain or personal vendettas, raising questions about whether their testimonies were reliable at all. Given the lack of tangible evidence, R. Kelly's supporters believe his conviction should be overturned. No forensic evidence tied Kelly directly to the allegations that were presented in court. Someone simply narrating a story that they were abused does not necessarily confirm it happened, especially when there is a financial reward at the end of the bargain. Testimonies which are mere stories, while important, must be supported by strong evidence to meet the standard of proof required in criminal cases. The pre-trial media frenzy created a biased environment that made a fair trial nearly impossible. Contradictions in the accuser's story should have raised reasonable doubt, but the jury seemingly overlooked them. Introducing unrelated accusations to establish a pattern of behavior blurred the line between evidence and prejudice. R. Kelly's legal team has vowed to appeal his conviction to the Supreme Court level, arguing that the trial was riddled with procedural flaws and lacked the evidence necessary to secure a fair verdict. Appeals based on insufficient evidence are rare but not unprecedented. And when it comes to the Supreme Court case review, it's another hard bargain due to the long list of cases they may have to deal with at a time. But if successful, Kelly's conviction could be overturned, forcing the justice system to reevaluate how cases like this are prosecuted. This case is bigger than R. Kelly. It highlights the broader debate about how society handles allegations of sexual misconduct, particularly against powerful figures. While it's crucial to believe and support alleged survivors, it's equally important to ensure that the rights of the accused are protected, as they could be innocent of the claims against them, like we see with R. Kelly. Convicting someone without concrete evidence sets a dangerous precedent that could undermine the principles of justice for everyone else, including me and you. Ultimately, the question isn't about R. Kelly's fame or public perception, but largely about fairness. But can we truly say justice was served if a man was convicted without tangible proof? It's a question we must all grapple with as we reflect on the balance between accountability and the presumption of innocence. What do you think? Should R. Kelly's conviction be overturned due to insufficient evidence, or do you believe the verbal testimonies were enough to secure a fair verdict in a criminal case? Share your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for more in-depth discussions on today's most pressing issues. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.